The new James Bond game has finally been revealed, and by revealed I mean they actually showed something. So this is from IO Interactive, and they are the developers of the newer Hitman games. Now, here's the thing. This is, from everything I've heard, going to be heavily inspired by their work on and time on Hitman, but it's not a Hitman game, obviously. It's James Bond. So, actually being able to see something and read details about this was very fun for me. The last time I think I talked about James Bond, one of the last times was my, Die Another Day review. I'd like to come back and do a movie review with Casino Royale soon, but I've been a big Bond fan since I was a little kid. So something I've always loved is the James Bond games. And one direction they're taking First Light in is basically doing an entirely original new James Bond. This is a new continuity. It is their own world. It is their own stories. And something I was talking to my wife Jill about with this that I love is that while I really adored the tie-in stories, there were these games that adapted the movie. They were fun too. I think my favorite were the games that did tie-ins, where it was like Nightfire or Agent Under Fire or things like that, Everything or Nothing, because, they could kind of slot into spaces in the Bond canon where there wasn't a story. I loved that, right? I thought that was cool. I am going to miss that if they never go back to it. But I also like that with this, there are going to be people pointing to this version of the character now as their favorite Bond years from now. And I think that's awesome. Like the same way people say, oh, my favorite's Connery, or oh, my favorite is Moore, or my favorite is Brosnan. There's going to be people who point to this video game original James Bond, and they are going to say, that's my favorite version of the character. I think that's great. I think that's a great way to start, is by making it your own and going your own direction. Now, a lot of what we did see, I believe there was gameplay mixed in here, but we didn't see it from the player point of view, like with a HUD or anything like that. A lot of it was more cinematic and talking about Bond's accomplishments or lack thereof, and essentially how they were concerned about making him a 00 or bringing him into MI6 in a more serious capacity. I thought they did a very good job with this. It's kind of played like a movie trailer in a lot of ways, and Bond here is obviously much younger. No, he's not a child or anything, but he's not an older Bond. This is going to be a story about actually earning his 00 status and becoming the legendary agent that I think we all know and love from the movies and books, etc. So it does already seem like IO has that down to a science here. We do see people like who I assume is Q in the trailer, and there are a lot of other little fun Easter eggs as well that show that they understand these characters. We're already seeing him use gadgets as well, which, by the way, is one of the biggest failures of the Activision era of 007. EA, back when they used to actually make good games and cared about things, other than just sports games and, I would argue, glorified gambling stuff, they, back when they made and footed the bill for those 00 games like Nightfire, they actually cared about gadgets. And during the Activision era, they really fell off with using them. It became more run-and-gun shooter Bond. I understand that was also to match some of the vibes of the Craig era, but Craig did still use stuff. It's not like he just never used anything. In those Activision games, they kind of ignored that. So to see IO actually going in on that and showing gadgets and even things like the watch right away in the trailer, great start. I think that gives a very, very good impression to people. Now, they did actually update their website as well, calling this a standalone, reimagined James Bond origin story, and it is about the events that led an audacious young hero to become the best MI6 agent. They call it a thrilling espionage adventure, saying that you embark on missions in breathtaking locations, drive iconic vehicles, and dive into a cinematic adventure in pursuit of a rogue agent who's always one step ahead. They were talking about 009 actually in the trailer. They call it spying your way. Go silent or go loud. Whether fighting with fists or firepower, using gadgets to infiltrate, alright, or bluffing your way past guards, the approach is entirely up to you. So this is a Bond game, like I said, much more inspired by their time on Hitman and giving you much more player agency. They did try some things like this, especially in, I remember Agent Under Fire, there were places where it's like, okay, you could use the Q grapnel, I forget the exact name, the Q claw. You could use that to maybe get up onto a surface and then go in through a vent, or maybe you could run in and shoot, or you could hack a door. They have done this kind of thing before in some of the old EA games, but it doesn't seem at all like to this extent. This is more of a high budget James Bond game, heavily inspired by the freedom of Hitman, where you are making spy decisions yourself, instead of just following the path that is in front of you. So I think that's really cool. That's not to discount the old games completely, but I do think that that's actually going to be very unique. You test your skills and replay your favorite missions with additional modifiers, so you can actually go back and play through different, things in the game again, and it'll actually like make it different, So again, that's heavily inspired by Hitman. On their website as well, you're able to wishlist the game. You can also sign up and get some like free items for in the game. I believe one of them was a gold gun skin and some kind of costume. So I'm sure I will do that. But in general, I'm very excited to see this. This is something where I wish they hadn't gone quite so quiet for so long. Like, they were very silent on this game for a long time. But it does seem like they actually kind of came out shooting. They actually started it with a bang with actual news on it. And with it being a narrative action-adventure game where they're actually going to value that story, start Bond out young and reckless, and basically have him go through, the training program and become the spy that we know from the movies. I think this is a great way to introduce a lot of new fans to Bond while also honoring the legacy of who James Bond is as a character. And there was nothing in this trailer I saw like disrespectful to the character or, I don't know, stupid in any way. It actually seems like they went into this, they really cared about the character, wanted to make their own version, but not in a bad way. And now we're going to have a totally original new James Bond that can exist alongside the movie continuities and the book's continuity. So I'm excited for that. I know in hindsight, videos like this don't age very well. Like, once the game comes out, a video like this is just highly unimportant because the game is out. But looking forward to it in 2026 right now, when I'm recording in mid-2025, I'm very excited. I enjoyed the state of play that this was shown at, and I'd like to make a couple more videos over the following days talking about like Metal Gear Solid Delta. That was shown off as well. Looks like a very, very good espionage type stealth game. They also showed off Silent Hill F. So if you want to see those videos, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below what you want to see. And I'm interested to hear what you think about this game, in general, like this tease for the 007 First Light game. If you enjoyed the video, you want to support our channel, you can use Fortnite code DJAY123, or you can check out our other channels. We're starting to play through Batman Arkham Asylum right now over on Degenerate Plays, our podcast-style Let's Play channel. That's in the description. And finally, we do have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. We're doing a lot of new things over there, but you can use code DJAY123 for 10% off your first purchase of coasters, keychains, trays, and more made from recycled paper. We take comic book paper, manga paper, all kinds of stuff that's damaged books, and we turn them transformatively into a new medium and a new piece of art for your home. Also as well, my wife has started doing handmade resin jewelry, like earrings and things like that I think are very high quality. We've gotten some sales on those recently. We really appreciate those of you who are supporting it, and a huge thank you to our members right here. Thank you guys so much for your support as well on this and my other channels and work. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and as always everyone, stay shui.